Welcome back to our channel. Buckle up, buttercups, because today we're diving headfirst into the stuff of nightmares for anyone who's ever looked at a map and thought, America, that seems like a nice place to live. Yes, we're talking about the potential return of Donald Trump and what a second term might mean for legal immigration. Now you might be thinking Tawhid wasn't his first term enough of a dumpster fire in that department, and to that I say, oh you sweet summer child. Trump's first term was like trying to eat a bowl of soup with a fork, messy, inefficient, and frankly, a little bit cruel. His administration enacted policies that made it harder to immigrate legally than it is to get a table at Dorsha on a Saturday night. We're talking a 37% jump in immigration denials, and processing times slowed down by a whopping 46%. So today, we're going to unpack some of the most egregious policies from Trump's first term that could rear their ugly heads again. We'll explore what a second term could mean for aspiring Americans and most importantly, what you can do to protect your immigration status. Because let's be honest, hoping for the best while Trump's at the helm is like bringing a pool noodle to a sword fight. You're gonna need a better strategy. So let's start with something called continuous vetting. Sounds friendly enough, right? Like a background check that never stops checking. Well, that's basically what it was. The Trump administration implemented this program to monitor immigrants from the moment they submitted their application all the way through to citizenship. Sounds impressive, right? Like they've invented some kind of time-traveling immigration officer? But here's the catch, and there's always a catch with these things, isn't there? The system relied on automated checks against various databases. If an applicant's information triggered a flag, and nobody quite knew what could trigger these flags, it was all very hush-hush. Their case went to manual review. Now you might think, okay, a little extra scrutiny, what's the harm? Well, by the end of Trump's first term, over 124,000 cases were stuck in limbo due to these additional checks. That's right, folks, over 100,000 people left in bureaucratic purgatory because of a system that was about as transparent as a brick wall. And here's the real kicker, the Department of Homeland Security never fully explained what criteria could trigger these flags. It's like going to a doctor who diagnoses you based on your star sign and then refuses to tell you what illness you have. Except, instead of prescribing you some useless homeopathic remedy, they put your life on hold indefinitely. Now let's talk about the deference policy, or rather, the lack thereof. See, before Trump, USCIS, that's the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services for those of you playing acronym bingo at home, had this thing called deference. Basically, if you'd been approved for something before, like a visa renewal, they'd give you the benefit of the doubt, and, renew it. It was a wild system, I know. But then, Trump came in, looked at this perfectly sensible policy and said, hold my Diet Coke. He decided that every single renewal should be treated like a brand new application. It's like making everyone who wants to renew their driver's license retake the written test and driving exam, even if they've been driving safely for decades. And what happens when you make the system more complicated? That's right, more paperwork, more delays, and more opportunities for things to go wrong. Suddenly, requests for evidence, or RFEs, were raining down on applicants like confetti at a ticker tape parade. Denials skyrocketed, and the whole process slowed to a crawl because apparently if it ain't broke, the Trump administration's motto was to hit it with a hammer until it is. And if you thought things couldn't get any more ridiculous, hold on to your hats, folks, because we're just getting started. You see, the Trump administration decided that nothing says welcome to America quite like a mandatory in-person interview. Now I get it, interviews can be useful, but they also take time, resources, and a whole lot of manpower. Initially, this requirement applied to employment-based green card applicants and asylum seekers, but guess what? They had plans to expand it even further. It's like they looked at the already strained immigration system and thought, you know what this needs? More people. And what happens when you force everyone to jump through an additional hoop? You guessed it. The whole system grinds to a halt. Processing times went through the roof, leaving countless people in agonizing limbo. It's like being stuck in the world's longest line for a roller coaster that you're not even sure you want to ride in the first place. Chapter 4. Denials for minor mistakes, because who needs second chances? But hold on, we're not done yet. Because in 2018, the Trump administration decided to take things to a whole new level of absurdity. They issued a directive that essentially said, if an application has even the tiniest error, throw the whole thing out. Missing a document? Denied. Forgot to dot an I or cross a T? Denied. Stapled your application in the wrong corner? You guessed it. denied. Before this, applicants had the opportunity to fix minor mistakes, because we're all human and sometimes we forget things. But under Trump's watch, these basic protections went out the window faster than a toupee in a hurricane. Instead of giving people a chance to correct simple oversights, they were forced to start the entire application process from scratch, wasting time, money, and probably a few tears along the way. Chapter 5: Automatic NTAs, because nothing says welcome like a deportation threat. And if you thought it couldn't possibly get any worse, well, bless your heart. The Trump administration decided to introduce automatic notices to appear, or NTAs, in immigration court for anyone whose application was denied. That's right, even a minor error could land you in front of a judge facing the very real possibility of deportation. Now let's be clear, NTAs are a serious matter. They're not just parking tickets you can toss in the glove compartment and forget about. These are legal documents that can have life-altering consequences. And under Trump, they were being handed out like candy at a parade. It was like they took the concept of due process, threw it out the window, and then backed over it with a monster truck for good measure. Chapter 6: Public Charge Rule. Because poverty is apparently contagious, and last but certainly not least, we come to the granddaddy of them all, the expanded public charge rule. Now, the public charge rule has been around for a while, but Trump's administration decided to give it a good old-fashioned makeover, turning it from a reasonable regulation into a weaponized barrier to legal immigration. The revised rule basically said, if you're poor or might become poor, don't even think about coming to America. They expanded the definition of public charge to include not just cash assistance but also non-cash benefits like food stamps and Medicaid. And they started considering factors like income level, health status, and education. It was like they were trying to create a checklist for the American dream. And if you didn't tick every single box, well, tough luck. Outro: stay informed, stay hopeful. Well folks, there you have it. A terrifying glimpse into the immigration policies of a potential second Trump term. It's enough to make you want to build a bunker, stock it with ramen noodles, and hide until the next election. But before you start digging, remember this: knowledge is power. The more you know about the potential threats to your immigration status, the better equipped you'll be to navigate the system and protect your rights. So, stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, don't give up hope. Because even though the road ahead might be bumpy, remember, we're all in this together. And if there's one thing Americans are good at, it's fighting for what's right. Thanks for watching.